Well, how about this? It's back. Now, I don't know how that opening sound sounded to the listeners as people are watching this, which is incredible that people are actually going to watch and listen to this. But how about this? The band is back together. When you heard that, and I don't, if it came across jumbled and just kind of muffled, we apologize. I'll be working on that here on the brand new website. Does that give you chills? What do you when you hear that song? What does that take you back to, Ryan Divish?
When I hear that song, well, it sounded like John Fogerty was playing underwater at that
Yeah,
point, or
I think
maybe in a cave from like outer Afghanistan.
I think there's a little
Um,
bit of that for sure.
no, it reminds me. Well, I mean, like Puckett. I mean, like my baseball radio career started with baseball's best postgame show,
That's right.
back in the day. I mean, my radio career really started with what is it the high school sports show
Yeah, we
on
had the
Friday nights,
Varsity Football Live. You were one
Football
of
Live.
one of our
Yes,
correspondents on Varsity
me
Football
and
Live.
that guy from me and that guy from what's the guy's name that was up in
Rex something,
Rex.
because we called him Sexy Rexy.
Yeah,
God, Rex. I'll think of his name. He was the best.
yeah. I knew more about like I don't even know what he did. Was it Aberdeen
He did like
and
Mount Vernon, and he did
oh
like
yeah.
all the high schools like up north, and he was
Oh
he
okay.
he loved it. Well, okay, first of all, God, you look great. Have you been working out?
No, I'm at like 200 pounds. So I
Well,
mean, I
but you
ate.
look like a solid 200 pounds.
Oh, I've been lifting again, but that's
Okay.
because I have to do a lot of rehab for all the numerous injuries because I'm old. But I ate Leo's Hawaiian barbecue 10 times down there.
Okay.
10
So,
times.
okay, where are we finding you? Because when I asked you to let's start this new venture, I was hoping maybe you take it a little serious and be professional here. And you are, where are you at? It looks like you're in a prison. I'm not gonna lie.
So I'm at the downtown YMCA here in Tacoma.
Well,
Um, I don't I'm part of Tacoma's homeless population right now. I
how is
don't
the
have a
homeless population down there? Is it good? Is it about as bad as it in
it's
my
it, it
neighborhood?
it's a little soaked right now with this
Okay.
weather, but
Okay.
so I got rid of my apartment and I'm staying with my cousin who lives in Ording, Washington, out by on a farm, our family farm that when my Japanese family moved over here from Japan, we had a farm out there. And so I'm staying out at the farm. I don't know his Wi-Fi code because he's not there. And then also I needed to come into Tacoma. I have all my stuff in storage. I don't have a coat.
Oh.
I don't have my vehicle. My vehicle's back in Montana. I'm driving a rental, a Subaru Solterra,
Oh, there
which
you go.
yeah.
God, you
So
fit right in.
yeah. So anyway, so I figured I was gonna go to the Tacoma Public Library and that's under construction. So and it looks like there's some tents out in front of that too. So I was gonna get a workout in. I know the Y has good Wi-Fi. There's the UW Tacoma Y. I got freaked out because I couldn't find a parking spot. I started throwing things. So I came to the UY, or the downtown Y, which does have a steam room.
Oh.
Puckett, I'll tell you this.
I love a good steam room.
I'll tell you this though. What is it about old dudes walking around naked in
Oh.
locker rooms? It is the worst thing about. I mean, like gravity is not kind of men
And they just
either.
let it drop. I mean,
Oh,
and
I
it's like
know.
it's hitting the bottom of their heels, for God's sakes.
Yeah, it's just terrible. So that's where I'm at. I'm at the downtown Y in
Okay.
Tacoma. We're trying to piece this together. I know you're trying to be serious, and at
No,
some
I'm,
point
I'm serious. Not going to be serious at
I'll
all. What
have
do
a
you?
I may have a podcast studio of my own. It might be in a tent in
Yeah.
a park off of MLK here in Tacoma, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Okay, so you're home. Do we need to start? I mean, so I don't have money coming in. I mean, do we try to do a GoFundMe page for you? I mean, what do we want to try to find you a place of residence? Are you looking
No,
to
I
live
like I'm
somewhere? Are you just going to be out of a suitcase? That's the best thing. For
so
people that
no.
are watching this, you'll see the person that just went in the background of Divish's where Divish is doing the show. For you listeners who are just driving around listening to this, pucksports.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, there is a person, and I'm not making fun of the person in the wheelchair is like a motorized wheelchair just driving behind you, and I believe she is driven into a locker. But continue.
So
Now you
yeah,
can't say anything. I don't want her to do anything to
no,
you.
I'm a little flustered by all of this too.
It's
So
good.
what so what
Uh,
happened was is like I
yeah,
live in
just a
I stay in
change. Yeah, just a
Yeah.
change. You know, I need
Well,
a
I stay in
change, right?
Montana in the off season with my girlfriend,
Yeah.
and I live with her. I went from like the most bachelor person you've ever met to living with my girlfriend and her two kids. They're
Yeah.
twins,
How is that? Can we just
teenagers.
stop there? How, I mean,
It's
you have been a guy, I've known you for so long. And I'm going to be a real honest with you. Like leading up to recording this today, I've recorded a couple of other interviews and for our baseball opening day extravaganza. I felt more nervous about this one than I have felt about an interview in a long time. Because one, I can't remember the last time I think we've done an actual like interview. I mean, I've seen you a bunch and
oh yeah.
hung out and all that, but I haven't like sat down and asked you questions. I mean, it's got to be, is it almost 10 years?
I have no idea. I remember the meeting when we were told we couldn't go on KJR. I was in Cleveland, I believe, at the
Yeah.
time, and um, we're doing this Zoom meeting, and I exhaled and I just said I was not happy. I mean, and
Yeah.
so, but I don't want to get in any
Well,
more trouble with
no,
that.
no,
No,
but we understood,
yeah,
all of that. And that's fine. That was a decision. It was hard, I think, for a lot of us there because one, especially, I think probably more with you than anything, because it was a relationship that we cultivated on just an early stage of your career when you were at a different newspaper. You got the News Tribune and doing high school stuff with Eric Williams, and then you gravitated towards baseball, and then we built up that great relationship with you, me, Ian. Ian was a big part of it, and Zabrowski and all that. And so it was. So when it went away, it was sad. It was just real
yeah.
sad. And I
Well,
always looked forward to the day that we would get a chance to do this one more time, because I've told you a lot that you're good at this, that you could do this. This could be something that, a career for you, because you've got the right mentality of it, which is really just curmudgeon and look at all the bad things in life.
yeah. And I mean, like, and like that's why on your previous show we liked it because you're a favorite you guys were a favorite among the writers because you guys never talked about sports and you made fun of sports. I mean, like that's I don't know. I mean, like that. I still remember like the couple of times when I would go in and co-host, and the one time we got Other Coast Cafe to give us gift certificates because we
Oh,
sent all those people. There was the day Taiwan Walker got
that's
traded, or they're
right.
trying to trade for Taiwan Walker for
Yeah.
Justin Upton.
Yeah.
And there's been some other ones, but no, it's been a long time, and it's it was frustrating on our part too because I
Sure.
felt like it was fun. I would come in the off season and do some co-hosting and all that other stuff, and I enjoy it, but. Yeah, it's so weird. Like, yeah, my life has changed so much since
Okay.
we did like interviews.
I know. So that let's circle back to your life. And hey, listener, just let us dance here for a little bit. We're gonna
Yeah.
get to the baseball team and everything else, but your life has changed so much because right now I think back to the Ryan I used to know to now look at you and go, I mean, you're not married, but you're essentially married.
Yeah.
You're in a long relationship, which includes a child, not of your own, but like a stepchild, so to speak,
Two
and
of them, twins,
two of them.
twins, boy
I
and a
mean,
girl.
you're like a you're like a regular old dad now. See, look at my coffee mug. Number one dad. You can be
Yeah.
that too.
I mean,
That's you.
I'm 2 weeks away from driving a minivan. I mean, like Tim Booth labeled me step rad, not step dad, because I'm like the cool
Wow.
guy. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's been a lot different. So like I lived there in the off season with my girlfriend. So I was
Yeah.
thinking my rent went up. I'm like, I'm paying $2,000 a month for an apartment that I'm in less than
Wow.
120 days a year. It
Yeah.
made no sense. So I put my stuff in storage, kind of talked to my cousin about staying with him because you got to have you technically have to have a residence in Washington if you work for the Times.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
my residence has been floating around. But yeah, so it's just a weird scenario coming back and, trying to figure out like it's all different, and like I'm like a baseball player. I'm a creature of habit. I
Yeah.
like the
Yeah. Yeah.
routine and I don't have any of my routine because I don't know where I'm living half the time. I have like one suitcase and like a couple pairs of these jogger sweats that I swore I'd
Yeah.
never buy, but I got them from Costco and they're really
What
comfortable.
kind of what kind of jogger sweats? Because I love a good jogger sweat.
They're
And if
the
anyone would like to sponsor this new show, pucksports.com, I'll take any endorsement from any jogger sweats company out there because
so I
they're
got
made for fat people, and I'm all in, all
so
in.
I'm wearing I'm wearing the Costco specials for the workout ones, but I bought some nice ones from True Links, the golf company.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, they're the best.
Oh,
Like when you're flying, because like I got a belly too. So
yes.
when you're flying, I don't have to wear a belt with those things.
Oh,
And then
I'm
they're
out on
comfy.
belt. I got a
And
Nike. Yeah, go
but
ahead.
they
Sorry.
look dressy. So it's like,
Oh,
oh yeah,
really?
I'm that guy. Yeah, no,
See,
True Links, man. Their shoes are too their shoes are amazing. And their
keep
pants
talking up
now.
True Links because if we
Yeah.
can say True Links enough, maybe True Links will
Yeah,
say,
they're
"Hey, let the
local.
sponsor." They
I know
are.
some of the dudes. They used to
Yeah,
do Imperial Motion. I mean, like they're out of
yeah.
Gig Harbor. I mean, like help us out here, guys.
Yeah,
Now,
I love a good stretchy sweatpant, man. That is,
oh
it's just whoever. Would you agree with me? We can talk about some of the greatest discoveries, inventions in the 20th century, right? You know,
mhm.
electricity, whatever. Whoever made the stretchy pant,
Oh, and
it,
the
it,
stretchy jeans, stretchy
just
denim.
anything stretchy.
Yeah. Yes.
Whoever came up with that is probably the first person who did it for like the Lululemon jog, pants
Yeah.
for the women. Whoever then decided, let's take it next level for the men. If I could send any amount of money to that person and hug them, I would. I want to find and seek that person out at some point.
Well, I feel like they had to figure that out because it seems like body talc and and Gold Bond are not as healthy for you as they used to be, which is really bad because I just immerse myself in green Gold Bond whenever I went on the road.
Oh,
So maybe I'm
oh,
probably gonna grow like a
yeah.
third tail or a tail or something from putting that all over my body.
Okay, so can you air somebody out on the Mariners team who should be wearing the stretchy pants?
Oh, I don't know. So it's funny. My girlfriend actually told me to tell Ty France that he needs to get tighter pants because he's lost so much weight.
He looks great. Ty
Yeah.
France looks great. When I flip on my TV there en route and was watching some of these games and watching some of the coverage down there, I'm forget driveline for a second, Divish. Forget the way he looks and just the shape he got himself in. I'm blown away. I mean that's a guy that went into the offseason and said, "Screw it, man, I'm going to dedicate myself to getting better shape." I'd say like he was in bad shape, but he was a little just I don't know. I mean, just he didn't look his peak physical shape that he probably could.
Yeah, he was built more like a run stopping linebacker. Now he's more like a coverage linebacker, like outside. He went from like Byron Cox to like, I don't know, KJ Wright,
Yeah,
leaner,
right,
more
right.
more fluid. So no, that I think that's as much about the swing changes is he's more flexible in his hips and stomach area, like I guess not stomach, but hips and like lower half, and that's going to make as much of a difference for his hitting as it is the drive line swing changes, which I do think are important as well.
Okay, before we get into baseball stuff, and again, people are like, when are you going to get to baseball? Listen, if you ever listen to the radio show, for God's sakes, it takes us 30 minutes to even 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour to even get in sports. So this show here at pucksports.com and YouTube, you can just search Puck Sports. Also there on Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your podcast. Just get used to it because it will take a while before we actually get into it. But before we circle back to the Mariners, let's just go back to being domesticated. What have you learned about yourself now that you are settled down? No longer the bachelor running out on the town, hitting up Hooverville after a game.
Well, I still go to the hoops sometimes,
Good,
but not as
good.
often. But yeah, like yeah, well, being domesticated, you just spend money in different ways instead of spending it at the bars. I'm spending it on Lululemon clothing for people.
Yes, yes.
Um, yeah, that place. I should have invested stock in that place.
It's the
It's
greatest thing ever. Have you seen they've got like a suit out now?
oh yeah,
It's like a stretchy suit.
and it's a cult. Like my sister's kids, my girlfriend's daughter, my girlfriend's son, they all wear it. Like they and I swear to God, I used to get that stuff at like TJ Maxx for $20. Now it's like 100. So now that's part of it. I don't know. Like it's funny, like I don't really I know like
Like, are you
you are
watching
you are in a
shows together? I mean, you're
oh
doing
yeah,
all
no,
that, right?
we've
Okay.
done that. You're
Okay.
in for a world of hurt.
Yeah.
My girlfriend's daughter is 16. You're in for a world of hurt.
Oh yeah,
ever.
I
Like in the
just
mornings, like
yeah,
I'll look at her and I'll say, I'll come down because they get up for school, you know,
yeah.
my girlfriend gets up to go to work. I'll sit down there. I'll get up out of solidarity and go down there and have coffee. But I don't like, first of all, I'm not a morning person. Like I don't mind getting up, but I just
Are
want to have
you
coffee.
what kind of person are you? Midday, late? What are you?
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I, I don't, but like, I'm not excited in the morning. Like I'll get up and I just want to have coffee and watch the news. I don't want to speak. I don't want to talk. I don't want to think. And so like, but the daughter Macy, she can be a little ornery because she's grouchy. So I'll just say, "Are we in a good mood today?" No, okay. Like I'll go over here
You
then.
can't
You know,
talk
like
to him. You
yeah,
gotta read the signals. Yeah, my daughter's 14. You gotta read the signals.
absolutely
And,
terrified. I've been terrified over her for the last 3 years.
yeah, I'm scared of him. I'm scared
Yeah,
of him because you don't know what you say to them that will absolutely flip out. I'll be like, "Hey, Mari, can you just bring your lunchbox down here? Oh, I'm trying to ready. Leave me
yeah.
alone. Okay, no problem.
That's like they'll rip your face off.
Oh yeah, he comes downstairs. Hey, would you mind, maybe wearing a different shirt? Is there any way we can get something a little bit longer that maybe actually gets past the waistline? Is that
Yeah,
possible? This, uh, it's what I want. Can you just leave me
yeah,
alone? Ugh,
yeah. It's yeah. They don't find our humor funny
it's
either.
not our world. Yeah, it's just, I kind of put my head down and just say, okay, I love you. I'll see you later, and just kind of
Yeah,
move on.
one of the things I found out about this life is I don't say a lot. I just kind of nod. Yeah,
A lot of
I'm just,
nodding and agreement, and just
I'm just,
don't want to get into an argument with anybody.
yeah, like you just pick, you pick your comments and your battles very wisely because it can lead to 3 days worth of talking. I don't
Oh
talk
yeah,
ever. Like I just
yeah.
don't discuss anything.
Okay, so so it's just you've been living out of a suitcase. You got a place here anytime. You want to crash in the basement here after a game, it is yours. You can just I'll give it to you anytime you want. So we're through the off season, spring training. It's opening day. It's the season is here. Let's get into the team. Let's just go to the off season. Obviously it's not the off season that fans wanted. When they see this thing develop and what happened and what the rhetoric was coming out of the camp of what they were not going to spend on and all of that. They got a lot of arrows coming their way. Now, I would say that they, for the most part, under the constraints of the financial, blockade put on them, I thought they did a pretty decent job. But it does bring up this question of, it seems to me that there is a disconnect, Ryan, between ownership maybe in the front office. Do you get a sense of that at all? Because you have John Stanton who comes out, I think, this week on King 5 interview saying, well, I put no kind of restraints on anything. These are the guys that Dipoto and Hollander wanted to get. And it just seems to me like, well, earlier the year in the offseason felt like there was a salary restraint. I know it's a long-winded kind of point here, but what do you think and what do you make of their offseason?
Yeah, I saw some of the Stanton stuff, and it's like what he said. I think it's kind of, and people read into it differently, and it was word salad at a lot of times. But like to me, it's like he lets them make the baseball decisions. Like he never says, "Oh, well, I think we need a pitcher." He
Right.
doesn't do any of that. That's where he's at. But he still has it's him and Chris Larson are the overarching determinants of all financial aspects of it, as well as Katie Griggs, the business side president. They set the budget and they tell Jerry, well, you got to work within it. So it's like, yeah, he doesn't tell Jerry what baseball moves to make per se, and what they can do what they want, but they can only do it within the parameters. It's like giving your son, $20 to go to the concession stand at the Mariners game to get whatever you want, which might not get you anything, but like
Mm.
you tell them what you can get, and that's what you can get. You're not choosing. You're not going to say, "Hey, don't get the cotton candy," even though you'll puke it up. You just say, "Go get what you want. You got $20. That's all you can spend." That's what Stanton gave to them. So he never told them what to do with the money, but he limited the money. I mean, like, I have, and he has admitted as much. Yeah, well, we had to readjust. He doesn't necessarily admit everything on record, but like they said, we had to readjust our projections based on the root sports thing and some other aspects, and taking on, the production route, the production side of the network. So no, I don't know if there's necessarily a disconnect in the sense that like they don't. I just think that the front office was expecting one thing at the end of the
Hmm.
season. The Comcast stuff happened, some of the other stuff happened, and they're like, okay, we don't have this.
But it just, I guess I wonder from Depoto's standpoint and Hollander's standpoint. Again, you're listening to Ryan Divish. He's with me. It's pucksports.com. If you're watching on pucksports.com, also on YouTube, there, Puck Sports, you'll see that Ryan is not in a women's prison. It is actually the YMCA in Tacoma's people. A lot of blue hairs walking behind him. If you're listening on it, you can check out the video later, but trust me, he's doing a hell of a job of piecing this together. He's homeless. He's without a permanent residence here as he's back in Tacoma. You're doing a hell of a job. You got a microphone that looks like an Apple remote.
I know. I'm just like
But
it
you
is.
have you
I'm
have
just a
made
yard
time.
sale right
Yeah,
now.
you've
I
made
really
time for
am.
me.
Um,
But I guess I'd wonder. It was a lot of word salad what Stanton said, but I think when he had that one sound bite where he said, listen, I don't tell them what to do. And this season, these are the moves they wanted to make. Talking about Evan White and Robbie Ray, and he said he loved Robbie Ray and all that. To me, and maybe I'm looking at it through different lenses because I want to see it one way and hear it one way. It seemed to me that he was almost shifting some blame to them in a way,
yeah.
into where, hey, if it doesn't work out this year, if it doesn't work out, that you don't blame me, don't blame the owners, but blame these
Yeah.
guys. And I wonder if I'm Depoto, and I wonder if I'm Hollander, if I hear that stuff, do I get a little nervous at all about this season? And in terms of, if we don't make the playoffs, is something going to happen to us?
Well, they aren't under contract. I mean, that's an issue. They don't
So
have contract.
Depoto and Hollander are not under contract for next
Well,
season.
I don't know Hollanders, but like I'm relatively certain that the contract that Jerry Dipoto signed and Scott Service signed was a 2 year with an option. Now we haven't got that completely confirmed, but technically they would be in their or their final year, and they would move to the option year. So
Sidebar for those watching, or excuse me, for those listening. Ryan
yeah,
has moved locations at the YMCA in Tacoma to a wall where he can plug in
yes,
to get some power, because the power is probably going to run out. All right. So that was just for the listener. So the listener, viewer, you've seen it all and you're following along with all the adventures. Okay. So Depoto he's in the final year of his contract.
yeah. I
Is
mean,
What
like,
about
so
Scott
I'm trying to.
Service?
So they got the extension after what, 21, right?
Sounds about right.
So then 22, 23. So yeah, they would be in the final year, and then they have the option year. With the option year is essentially like
Yeah.
a buyout rollover year. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
if I would imagine if if they're going the rate they want to go, then they'll just extend it a couple more years. But yeah, I don't, like, I mean, I really, if they wanted to fire them, they could, and
Yeah.
they're not going to take a huge financial hit because
So
they don't pay these guys that much anyways, comparative to the market.
so do you think this is a make or break year for them?
Um, it's hard to say. I mean, like, I think, yeah, I think it is because they did a lot of maneuvering. And to be honest, some of the contracts that they had to get rid of were contracts that Jerry signed, the Evan
Right.
White deal, the Robbie Ray deal. You taking on Suarez money, the contract, and you took on Suarez's contract as a deal to get Winker, who didn't work out. Colton Wong, they paid some
Mhm.
money to. Like, there have been some bad, um, they've had some bad dollars out there that are, you know, unfavorable salaries, and what they were getting rid of were salaries that Jerry Dipoto took on. So, I mean, I guess they could do that. I mean, they could look at it. This ownership group hasn't been that reactionary like some.
Mhm.
There's some people could sit there and say, well, these guys let people stay too long, because, like, Stanton and Chris Larson, the main owners, were part of the minority owner group back in the day with Howard Lincoln and Nintendo, and you could argue that they kept Jackson Renzick on too long. They kept Bill Bavasi on too long. Some of those things too. So I don't know. They're not reactionary, but this is a group that's been here since before 2016 season. They've got one playoff appearance, and there's been some there's been some certainly downfalls along the way, from perception, some off the field stuff, the stuff with Lorraine Martin, all that other stuff, it hasn't been
It
it
hasn't
hasn't
been
been
clean.
no, it hasn't been gumdrops and rainbows. Do I think they're a better organization in terms of baseball wise than they were 5 years ago? Absolutely. I think they're in a better spot than when DePoto took over a while ago in terms of the players. They don't necessarily have the money that they had when he took over, but yeah, I think they're in a better spot.
Do you think it appears to me again? Excuse me, I'm getting choked up just watching at the Y. Does it appear to you? That this offseason got off to such a bad start. The whole 54%. And again, there are different ways to look at the 54%. And I know you're tired of dealing with it because you got to deal with all the fans that tweet you and get after you on social media about it. I think you can look at a couple of ways. I think from a baseball industry insider, because we talked to Jim Duquette, who's with us every week from MLB.com, or excuse me, MLB Network Radio, and Jim said, "Hey, throughout the industry, it makes sense what he's saying. Over the course of a time, you win this amount of games, you're going to put yourself in position to be in the postseason. But the way he expressed it, it is never going to satisfy fans. When fans hear that, wait a minute, your goal is just to win over 50% of your games. That's not what fans want to hear. You can think that and you can believe that, but it's a different thing, right? To articulate what he articulated. It seemed to me that after he made that they did something, whether he did it personally or somebody did it for him, that they really reined him back in, because there was not a lot of interviews, not a lot of FaceTime, not a lot of airtime for Jerry Dipoto. And you know him, you've been covering him since he's been there. I mean, he likes to hear himself talk. He likes to be out there. And they really seemed to kind of pull him back. Do you think that was an organizational thing? Do you think that was maybe just Jerry self-reflecting and saying, maybe I need to pull myself back a little bit?
That's an interesting question. You're right too. Like the 54% thing makes sense if you're telling me and Daniel Kramer and some beat writers at a midseason thing and you're telling them that. But it's when you're saying that, it's the timing of when he said it and how he said it. And I mean, there is a level, I think sometimes Jerry can come off sounding a little condescending because he's smart, or at least he believes he's smart. I think he's pretty smart. And the
Yeah.
way he said it can be off-putting. Like if he says that to me and Daniel and Shannon as an overall goal, and we're sitting at spring training one day and we're just BSing, he talks about that. Yeah, that makes sense because you want sustained success for 10 years. I mean, like that's the one thing is like the idea of 54% is that likely in 8 of those 10 years at 54%, you're winning more than
Right.
60% of your games, and that you're going to be there because we've seen 88 wins usually get you into the postseason. So I get it. It makes all the sense in the world. It's just the time and place. You don't say it then, you don't say it there. And you don't really unnecessarily, like, honestly, he swung at a pitch in the dirt. Like
Yeah.
Levine asked the question. He's literally videoing himself asking the question and has it written down because, like, hey, I'm going to prove a point. Like,
But it's a
read
good,
the,
I commend, I liked it. I mean, it got,
oh,
it
yeah.
got him to say something that I think
Yeah. Because, like, that's
that
the thing.
angered
He
a
got,
lot, ended up
yeah.
angering a lot of people.
I think it's because like one, he went after it because he wanted to like prove his point to somebody I don't think he necessarily cares for. And so
Yeah.
then it was like it's a pitch in the dirt. Like it's a
Yeah.
no-win to answer it the way he did.
Yeah.
And in reflection, I think, and do I think they pulled him back? I think it was probably a little bit of him and the Mariners saying, "Hey, look, let's pull back." Because honestly, like and even now it exists. Like no matter what he says, the 54% and all that stuff comes back to bite him. It's not. I wouldn't say he's like nuclear or toxic, but it's just like nothing really good comes from him being out there that publicly. Now, like when he wants to just talk about straight team and like transactions and stuff and why they like a player and why they decide to get a player. Yeah, I think that's good. But when he's out there discussing his 10,000-foot view or the philosophy of the organization, it doesn't matter what he says. This negative connotation around him is swirling from fans, and he's not going to get that back unless they win.
Yeah, and I think too, he's got a guy who, we used to refer to on the radio show as Tonto, because they would just, I don't know how we came up with the nickname
Oh
Tonto.
God, jeez,
But we did.
brutal.
It was, well, it just was, he, I don't, somebody, I think it was a caller, it was a listener, it was on our voicemails that came up with it. But I like Hollander, and I've always liked, when we had the few times to talk to Justin Hollander, I enjoyed it. And he is so much, he's so much better at it. He's so much better at getting in front of a camera or a microphone and just talking about the team. His message is going to be the same. I just think he just does a better job of articulating what the organization is trying to get across. And I think it's a smart move. I would put him out there. I mean, he is the GM, and Dipoto is just the president of baseball operations. So, I mean, I know Jerry's still pulling the strings, and Hollander definitely has a say, but I would just put him out there as much as I possibly could if I were the Mariners.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, well, you guys think it's better, fans, because like he does, he's a lot more guarded in what he says. He's careful in what he says. For us, that sucks. I mean, Jerry filled it up.
No,
Come
you're
on,
right.
it's
You're
like
right.
I asked three questions, and it's like 50 pages of quotes that I can
Yeah.
use down the road, because
Yeah.
like that's one thing too. Is like Jerry just tells you what he's thinking. And he tells you a lot of times, oh, well, we're looking for this, and this is what we want, and this is what we need. So in that regard, yeah, but like public from a public persona perspective, yeah, I can see what the Mariners are doing. And just as great, I like him.
Yeah.
He handles all the contract stuff, and he knows. And like, I think a lot of the work that is done now is done by Justin and Jerry. He's more of the big picture and finalizing
Yeah.
it. And so, no, I think it's better for him to be out there more. But like, if I really want to know about what the overall arching thought process is for the Mariners, I still want to talk to Jerry,
Yeah.
but I understand why they're not putting him out there, because, like I said, it just does no good for him to be out there right now, because the reaction will always be negative. I mean, he could go out there and unless he goes out there and says, "Hey, we're signing so and so, and we got more money, and we're going to do this, this, and this," you know, it's just going to be negative. And there's a believability factor too, because he was so adamant, we're going to increase payroll, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And when it doesn't happen, all this stuff's on the internet, and people are going to remind you of it.
Ryan Divish is with me. It's pucksports.com. Of course, Ryan Divish covering the Mariners for the Seattle Times, seattletimes.com. Go check it all out. Follow him on Twitter at Ryan Divish. You can, of course, listen to this anywhere. You can watch this at YouTube. Just search Puck Sports. Visit pucksports.com on the website, and also Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcast. So we appreciate Ryan stopping by here in our opening day extravaganza shows. The Mariners will open up the 2024 season against the Boston Red Sox. Let's get into, before we get into the offseason moves, the injuries. Boy, the injuries just seem kind of they're piling up with the pitchers. We know what the situation with Santos, Matt Brash, Wu, Jackson Kowar. Let's just start with an update on Matt Brash. What is the latest on him? And do you think that he will be coming back fully healthy, ready to go for the 24 campaign?
Yeah, so Brash is thrown off the mound, not at 100% effort, but throwing, 25, 30 pitches. They're all fastballs too. I think, all signs are pointing that he's going to come back. Look, he's going to have, eventually down the road, there's going to be an elbow issue because of how he throws
Right.
and how hard he throws and how many pitches he throws that bend.
Are
I think
they
everybody,
avoiding, Ryan? Are they avoiding the inevitable? You think?
I think that, no, I think that they felt like it wasn't like if you look at to what they said, the MRI never really was any different. They said the results, they never said it was clean. They just said it didn't look any different than before. So I think that they felt like he could pitch, similar to last year. So, I don't think they're avoiding it. I mean, you don't want to cut it if it's not torn, on some level. I mean, there's always tearing, but I think, they feel like they can do it for a while, and maybe they feel like this is the window. But, they didn't do anything crazy like do the PRP shot and everything like that. They just felt like, hey, if we do this, it's okay. But they're being very cautious in how they build him up. So, I mean, I think if he has no hiccups, um, he could be back on the mound maybe by May 1st for the
Mm-hmm.
Mariners. That would be the earliest I think we'd see him. There's no
Okay.
setbacks.
All right. So where are we at with Santos then? Because I mean, obviously we thought
He,
he's going to be a big part of this thing, and now
yeah.
he's obviously he was delayed from the get go, right? I mean, that was something that
Well,
even
he
coming
was
into spring
delayed,
training.
and then he was delayed. He threw a bullpen the day before, like workouts, and felt something, and then they shut him down. He did all the rehab. Then he came back, was building up, and then felt something again, in a different spot. And so, like, he hasn't picked up a ball yet. He's having his MRI tomorrow, and if that is clean, which they expect, then he would start throwing. He would start playing catch and building up again. So again, like you're talking, it's March 27th. You know, 4 weeks again to build up, do all the playing catch, the bullpens, the progression that they have. So you're talking mid May 1st at the earliest, mid May. So yeah, that's kind of where he's at. I mean, it's not an elbow, it's a lat issue, but it's just something that, I just hasn't kind of come back. But they're gonna make sure, like, they're not gonna have this rush thing with him either. They're gonna make sure that he's ready to go.
No, he's gonna be a big piece of the team. What about Brian Wu? I mean, again, this is a something that you knew you were going to hopefully depend on him this year, and certainly excited about what he did last year. But now elbow inflammation. What is kind of the word around the Mariners circles about potentially how long this can keep him out?
So like when Brash got hurt, and within Mariner circles and outside the organization, everybody thought he was done, because it's just that's a bullet that's speeding at him that it's
Right.
unavoidable, but it wasn't. They felt like they got lucky with Wu. There, if you listen to Hollander talk, he said there was no structural damage. There was the graft from the UCL surgery before was clean. So that's, you want to hear that. They said it's similar to the elbow inflammation he had last year, which I think is just fatigue and usage. I think with Wu too, like, he wasn't going to pitch. He wasn't going to make 30 starts.
Right.
There's no way he was going to make maybe 25, maybe 22. So like there was going to be a downtime anyways. This is a downtime. Obviously, you don't want it to be an injury, but I think it's just inflammation. And they said it's similar to what he felt last year when they shut him down. So, they feel like he'll be ready to go in maybe 2 or 3 weeks and be back to normal. And they
Hmm.
have Emerson Hancock, you know, able to step in, and he's not just some random quad A guy. He is a guy that does have some potential. So, I mean, that it's like I wrote yesterday, the Mariners have injuries and they're dealing with injuries, but like there's, I think, something like 13 teams that will have projected starting pitchers start the season on the injured list. The Astros will have two, um, Justin Verlander and Jose Urquidy. The Rangers will have three of their best starting pitchers also there. There's a guy
Yeah.
singing down the hallway
Is
here.
there
But
guys
there's
singing? What is he singing? Again, for those who are listening to the podcast here at pucksports.com or Apple or Spotify, Ryan is doing today's show from the YMCA there in Tacoma. What was he singing? Did you
I
catch?
thought, well, I am at a YMCA, so it's probably Christian hymns, but I'm not certain.
Are you going to get in a run? Are we going to play a little 5-on-5, a little 4-on-4? What do we got?
So, a couple of years ago, I stepped on Isaiah Thomas's foot playing a pickup ball
I bet that was
and
good.
shred it. Yeah, and re-tore my meniscus for the fourth time,
Uh,
like horizontally. So
yeah,
I'm not supposed to be playing, but I played twice down in Arizona, and
good for you.
yeah, some of my boys, Akita and my buddy Brian, have started to play hoops again. So I'll
Good.
probably play.
Never give it up, man. I play an
No,
old man, fat man league every Monday. Never
I
give it
mean,
up.
like, when this Puck Sports Network breaks big, and you get sponsored by an orthopedic surgeon, I can
We
just
will.
get like my knee replacement done.
Yes. Well, if there is a company out there that's watching and listening, and you like to get in on the advertising, contact us there at pucksports.com. I will take any and all advertisers. I don't care who you are, everybody, to come in and support this new venture. All right. Of the off-season moves, like when I look at it kind of in a vacuum and I separate the money and everything, I look at the players and I look at that projected lineup, and there's no doubt. I mean, you can be as glass half empty as you want to be, and obviously I can be that way as a Mariners fan because I'm a Mariners fan, I'm a Cougar fan, so I am used to being disappointed in all walks of life. So, but I look at it like a JP, Julio, Polanco, Garver, Cal, Mitch, Canzone, France, Rojas, and I say, not bad. I mean, it's better. I mean, it's longer. It has the potential to be better. But
well,
there also are a lot of what ifs to it.
yeah. Well, I mean, they're not, but it's not like they're not starting a utility guy and saying, hey, we're going to see if he can be a real guy like they did
True.
with Dylan Moore, or they're not taking Shed Long after 30 games and just handing him the second baseman job. Like, it's not even Jared Kelenic, who's a top prospect and never done anything, say, hey, we're going to hand this to you. Every one of these players had seasons of 3 WAR or higher, I think, other than maybe Rayleigh and Canzone because they just haven't played as long. But
Mm-hmm.
like they're, you look at them, they're still a combined track record. I mean, like, I just think it's a better overall lineup. Like these guys have proven that they can play at the major league level consistently for a year. Now they're not all like all stars, but I mean, like, you saw the lineup they rolled out that first night in San Diego. That's as good of a big league lineup
Yeah.
that I've covered since probably 2016, maybe. It's not as top heavy. Like even the teams with Seager, Cano, and Cruz, it was those three guys, and then not a lot of help around them.
I think if they like, again, we get back to the what ifs, and the what ifs, if they can stay healthy. If you look at a bottom of the lineup, which at any level of baseball, right, the weaker hitter is going to be at the bottom, and if you can go where Mitch Haniger is hitting 6, and then Canzone, who does show some ability to hit, and then Ty France, that we all know if he can get back to that form and he can learn something and take whatever he can take from drive line, hitting 8th. I mean, that's going to be there's not going to be an easy out at that bottom of the lineup. But again, it's always a big if with these guys because you are talking about health with a lot of these guys. Polanco's dealt with injuries. Garver's dealt with it. Mitch has certainly dealt with it. France is off and on. We don't know what Canzone or Rojas can do with extended playing time. So there are a lot of what ifs. But of that group, and I haven't even mentioned Rayleigh yet, of that group, who are you or who do you think fans will be most excited about? Or who is the chance to have a breakout season?
Well, I mean, like, I think watching Haniger this spring, he's done some stuff differently with his swing. It's shorter. Like, you remember like Nelson Cruz, how he flirted with 300 that year?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying Mitch is going to be a 300 hitter, but he's not the 230 guy that we saw kind of in the last year. He's just a better overall hitter. He's not going to strike out as much. He has a better understanding of who he is. He's not afraid to hit in T-Mobile Park. He understands it. I think if you get 120 games out of him, or Scott mentioned
Take it
140.
now.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. Like if you go look at like the track record or the back of the baseball card, look at the numbers that Jorge Polanco, Mitch Garver, and Mitch Haniger produced when they had 500 plus plate
Mm-hmm.
appearances. That's the
Mm-hmm.
kicker. If you get
Yeah.
500 plus, the quantity of those plate appearances leads to quality because those guys have done it. I mean, and that's the difference. That's a separator. So I think he's pretty good. I mean, Polanco is really good. He's really just kind of like you watch him hit. He has an understanding what he's trying to do, and he's a switch hitter. And those two guys are really good. And like nobody's seen Garver play more than he's played like 102 games is all in his career. Like this. I can't believe nobody else thought of this a long time ago. Just let him hit.
Right.
Like
Right.
just do this. So,
How much do
uh,
you think Haniger will be out in right field? Do you think it's the majority of the time, or how much are they going to have to massage that based on trying to keep him healthy? Because I mean, clearly, it's not like he's a terrible defender, but his value is hitting. And how much do you
yeah,
do you do you juggle that also with juggling the situation there with Garver?
Yeah, I think, like the days that Haniger sits, you might not play him. You might not play him at all. Like you sit him to get real rest, and then you bring him in for a pinch hit role late or something
Yeah.
like that. Like, if they're facing a tough righty that's, just death to righties, then that's the day you put Canzone and Rayleigh out there, and then you
Yeah.
can always bring Haniger in. So I think they have better options. It's funny, it's like when you sit a guy and you bring a guy off the bench to play, again, you're not bringing in Tommy LaStella to play or Cooper, whatever that guy's name was. You're bringing in real
Cooper
dudes
Hummel.
that, yeah. I mean, like you're bringing in real dudes. I mean, like I,
Yeah.
I like Cooper Hummel and stuff, but
Yeah.
like you're bringing in, like on the days you're giving rest, you're putting Luke Rayleigh and Dominic Canzone out there. If
Sure.
you're giving Haniger a day off, they had to play. Like you remember the one year they had to play Jared Kelenic against
Yeah.
lefties because they were so bad defensively otherwise, and they didn't have anybody else. Like it's
Yeah.
not like it's different now.
Um, I've kept you so long. I trust you. When we do this in the future, it's never going to be this long. But
That's
you,
fine.
we have net. It's been years since we've been able to
Oh yeah,
catch up in this type of platform. So I needed to sprinkle in your life. Everyone needs to find out what's going
yeah.
on with you. The pitching staff. Is there a better pitching staff starters in baseball than this group? Or I mean, you might mention one or two, but this is as good as it gets in Major League Baseball, this group.
Yeah, I mean, like they're top 4 or 5. I mean, like you can argue the Dodgers when completely healthy, when Walker Buehler gets back,
Yeah,
all that, but they're not completely healthy now. Cleveland's got some injuries too. I mean, like their top 3 are as good as it gets. And
mm,
then their 4th guy, Bryce Miller, I mean, like he seems to really just keep evolving as a pitcher. And then if Woo's your 5th guy, I mean, like that's a pretty good number 5.
for sure.
Like think of some of the number 5 stars the Mariners had, like Chris Flexen, some of these other guys, like
Yeah.
Brian Woo's a legit guy, So I think it's the top 3. I know it's one of the top 2 in the American League. I can't think of, somebody might argue Cleveland, right now Houston staff isn't healthy, so
Hmm.
you don't have Arcadia, Verlander. So I have no problem saying that they're top 2 in the American League and top 5 in Major League Baseball.
Well, it gets underway opening day on Thursday. They have a 7-game homestand, features with the Red Sox and I think the Guardians.
Mhm.
If healthy, if fully healthy, optimistic about this team and what they can do. I mean, obviously we know what the pitching, if they can stay healthy, they're going to be great. Offensively, they did enough. Do you think this will be a team once again that will flirt with the playoffs and have a legitimate shot to get in?
Yeah, I mean it's crazy because like when they were dumping salary, and like I love Suarez. He was such a good dude to be around, and like I always kind of cheer for Jared because he is a. I was just like him. I was a helmet breaker. My
Hmm.
broke my hand punching a dugout wall. I mean, like,
That surprises me with you. I don't see that
uh,
level of anger.
yeah. So, I I thought they were going to be terrible,
Yeah,
and then I really thought they would have to trade some of the pitching, so they kept the pitching. And there's all the moves they made were smart. Like yeah, there's injuries, but there's injury risk with everybody.
right.
So it's like I like the team. I like how what I saw this spring in terms of like guys being better with 2 strikes and not going to strike out as much. Your old co-host hated that. I mean, they're a lot more competitive with 2 strikes. And like I wrote about this today
You
in the
need to
paper.
emphasize old when you talk about
Oh, I
Jim.
know, I
Just
know. It's
really, really
decrepit.
emphasize how
You're,
old, decrepit, and
oh yeah.
just curmudgeon like. All right.
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe like I just don't like sarcasm. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I mean, like maybe I am wrong. I'm probably wrong, but I
No,
don't know. I just hate
it's
watching that.
that's a pretty good. You did a pretty good impression of Jim right there. You pretty
I
much
mean,
nailed
like
it.
I'm stupid. I'm just doing this for the money. I mean, like I'm trying to
Aren't we
have like
all? Aren't we
yeah.
all doing this for the money? I'm actually
So
not doing it for the money right now,
yeah,
but
no.
aren't we all?
Yeah.
Well,
Um.
I think it's gonna be a fun season. I think that's the thing with baseball, right? In
Yeah.
probably any sport, but maybe because
I
just
mean,
the nature of this one, I'm optimistic every year. I know some people are gonna listen to that and go, no, you're not. I am
yeah.
deep down. I'm always optimistic, and
Well, like
then they usually crush my soul.
you're
Yeah,
around your kid, and he makes you optimistic. Like my girlfriend's son loves the Mariners now too,
yeah,
and like you're around, like they get excited.
yeah.
Here's the thing: if they get, I've said it, like if they get 1,600 to 1,700 plate appearances combined from Garver, Haniger, and Polanco, they can win 90 games. They
Yeah.
can easily win 90 games because you're talking that's going to be that's 3 war level production, if not more. If they, and like they can't have Kirby or Gilbert or Castillo miss significant
Right.
time,
Sure.
but they can offset the bullpen stuff. You can piece the bullpen together for a while. They've done that. But if they get that kind of production, so I've said they're 88 to 90. Like I can see how they can get to 90 to 91 wins and even win the division because like the other teams are banged up too. But I can also see if guys get hurt, they're out, and everybody says, well, they don't have depth. Well, I don't name me a team that really has depth
Yeah.
because like no old guys are signing to be depth,
Right.
like it's
Right.
got to be prospects. Their prospects are a little younger. And, like I loved watching Cole Young and Colt Emerson this spring, but like they're ways away. But like I think I can see the road to 90, 91 wins, and I can see a road to 85 wins. And
Hmm.
it's like, but what they've done, and it's like the old Tony Bennett, God, just horrible to watch basketball that was effective by having really good pitching. They're always going to be in it. You
Sure.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you're start, I mean, like they led the league in quality starts or second most. If you get that many quality starts, you can win ugly a lot. And
Yeah.
I did like the maturity from Julio that I saw this spring, and just kind of like these guys all work. There's just like this motivation to do and get better. And I was pretty impressed. I'm you. Like, I don't really care if they win or lose. I cheer for outs and quick games and the pitch clock. But like I've seen, like, when it's right and when it's working, the way they want it to,
Yeah.
what they want it to look like, it's pretty effective. Now it's just a matter of how often are they going to be able to roll out the group that it's going to be right in 162 games.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Ryan Divish from the Seattle Times covering the Mariners. It has been about, I don't know, 10 years since we've been able to do this in this type of platform. And I am so grateful that he's back. He'll be back with us on this new venture, pucksports.com, which you can go to the website. All that material will be up there, video, audio, also on YouTube if you just want to search it that way, Puck Sports. New Twitter handle, Puck 2040. You can go there.
Is that a new
Apple.
weight loss system? 2040.
You know what? Now that I didn't even think about that. No, I had to change. I'll tell you the meaning behind it. I had to change it. I started a company, a media company. So it's 20. My media company name is 2040 Media, 2040 Media LLC.
Kemp,
So you'll
Kemp Payton. Kemp
there you
Payton.
yeah, Peyton and Kemp. Yeah, pretty obvious. Yeah. So and boy, I'll tell you what, trying to change your Twitter handle is a process, and I don't know why. And I did it so much I got locked out for like 10 hours and it was miserable.
Probably
But
a
you
great
could
10 hours actually, but
well, no, not when you're trying to launch something new and you don't think it's going to come back on. You're like, well, I kind of need that thing. I kind of need the Twitter handle. I need Twitter to be there so I can pump all this stuff out. But you can find Apple, Spotify, just search Puck Sports. We'll put out new stuff all the time. This was a special opening day show. We're going to do kind of what they say in the restaurant business, a soft launch. The big launch will be next week. You're going to hear from all the regulars that you liked on the radio show. Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio. John Canzano, johncanzano.com. He's coming over. Mike Garafolo, NFL Network. He's coming over. Rob Staten from Seahawks Draft Blog, who I love Rob to death covering the Seahawks. He's coming over as well. Brad Adam from Root Sports, Bill Kruger from Root Sports. And then as we did on the radio show, finishing every week with Mr. Sunshine, Chris Egan. Chris Egan from King 5 News will be coming over as well. And I'm pretty sure the old man will be riding along pretty soon here.
Oh yeah.
When we can finish some details.
What else does he have to do?
Well, I think there's some. I think
marshal at a golf course.
I think there's got to be some issues we got to figure out, but I think he will be along for the ride. Ryan, appreciate the time. We will talk next week. Thank you, sir.
All right, sounds good, man.
There is Ryan Divish. And again, follow all of the content, pucksports.com, YouTube, Puck Sports, Apple, and Spotify. Thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. Like, subscribe, all of it. And money, send money. Okay, advertisers. I'll pitch anything for you, but please visit pucksports.com.